Hi class, in this video I want to take you on a tour of our textbook. This is not one of those classes where you buy a textbook and you'll never ever use it. As you can see, I've used mine for a few semesters. I've got tabbies all over. I want to take you through this textbook and why it's the textbook I choose to teach English 101 and why and how it can be helpful to you throughout the semester. So this is joining the conversation. This is the third edition, I believe. And so let me just take you through some things here to know about the text. First, the first page I would mark up if I were you. I refer to it a lot throughout all of our essays, is page 11. It's the writer's roles. So this textbook does a really great job of breaking down the different options for you, the different scopes, the different approaches for your writing. So when we're doing one of our essays, I will actually call out which writer's role we're using from the text. And this is a good summary of the writer's role and the approach for each one of those roles. It really gives you a great summary. So I love this approach for all of our essays. It will be very clear which approach you want to invoke in order to have successful writing. So that's one. That's in chapter, that's in the first chapter, page 11. Next I want to show you an example, if you're following along with me, not that you have to. Page 161 in the text. This is actually a sample essay. So this is another reason why I've chosen this textbook, is each one of the approaches provides at least one, if not more, final essay version of that type of writing. And in the margins you'll find helpful hints about how it's set up, for example, the heading, the margin, the title, but then it'll also call out in the margin different things that the writer has done to meet this style of writing. So this example on page 161 is writing to reflect, and each one of the chapters that covers a different approach to writing actually does this, where it gives you a formal example of a finished essay and helpful information over in the margins about how the student was successful in completing that essay. So that's another reason this is going to be very helpful. Even if you only use it for a visual cue before you turn in your final draft of, does my essay look like the final essay example? If that's the only thing you use it for, that's perfect. But also, many students that I've had in classes throughout the semesters have expressed the appreciation of being able to read an example work so that they kind of know what they're shooting for, they understand that they're on the right track. So that's another reason. You'll find one or more of these in each one of our chapters that we'll be focusing on. So we've got a lot of chapters in there. Then the next thing, this is also a mini handbook. There are lots of things in writing that you could try to memorize the exact way and the exact mechanics to handle something. That's just not how my brain works. What I remember is that I need to use a handbook to ensure that my writing is in the formal way and presented appropriately as it needs to be. So for example, I'm on the wrong page. Hold on. For example, if we go to page 633, again, these are the textbook chapters in the back. There's a whole section on using sources effectively. So again, writing is a skill. It's something that you develop, and this textbook, specifically this section, will help you figure out how to incorporate your sources. That's research that you've done, quotes that you have that are important to support, or to support your own argument, or to use as an example of a counter argument that you are going to argue against. We will use sources in 1 to 2 essays depending upon what approach you take with one of the essays, but definitely 1. So using sources effectively, again, it's not that I expect you know how to do that walking in to class day 1. It's something that will give you different opportunities throughout class to actually try, and here's a section that can help you, using sources effectively. Next thing I want to show you, again, if you're following along, whether it's the e-text or you have an actual physical copy, whatever works best for you as a learner, you might want to bookmark this next section, page 657. This is revising your essay. So I'm going to give you lots of opportunity to revise your essays throughout the class. We'll do revision exercises together. And in class, online, we'll do them peer-to-peer, so with your fellow students. But also, revision is something you need to engage in individually. And so this whole section gives you different approaches. What you'll find is, depending upon the type of essay, the type of writing that you're asked to do, there may be strategies that work better. I try to pick the strategies that I've found have been most successful for students as we go through the different essays, but you might find that you go to a certain one based on the feedback that you get being strong, or it really helps you work through the assignment. So revising and editing, whole section here in your book. I've got little sticky notes here to make sure I don't forget all the sections I want to show you. So my next sticky note is page 673, again, if you're following along. This is, let me make sure, yes, this is the MLA style section of your text. So for essay 4 and possibly essay 3 or others, depending upon your approach and your topic, we will be learning and using the MLA, the Modern Language Association's formatting on how you incorporate sources, how you give credit where credit is due, how you complete your works cited page. So this is a step-by-step section of, if it's this type, if it's a digital source, so an online magazine, an online blog, how do I write that up in my essay, and how do I write that up on my works cited page, step by step. This is not information how to use MLA or in English 102 APA, if you may be familiar with that, or if you're pursuing a history major or journalism, you may be using Chicago style. This is not something that any instructor actually expects a student to memorize, but you need to be familiar with how to find the information and cite things appropriately. Otherwise, you could crouch into the realm of unintentional or intentional plagiarism, and you don't want to do that. So that's another reason I love this section, or this textbook, because of this section. And the last I want to call your attention to, chapters 25 and 26. Excuse me. These are about specifically your writing style. So making sure that you are using effective language. A lot of people start out in an English 102, English 101 or 102 class, writing like they talk, which is a good place to start if you're having trouble getting words on the page, but we don't always speak in formal writing. So these sections here are going to take you through how to make sure you're avoiding passive tense, for example. How to ensure you're using the right pronouns. Are your sentences clear and concise, or are they kind of wordy? Do you put a lot of stuff in there that you really don't need, and you could pare that down? So these sections are ones you're going to want to use as a part of your revision process, or if you're going through and writing and aren't really sure, it sounds right, but is it really right? These sections can help you ensure that. And often what you'll find when I give feedback to the entire class about the most common mistakes that the class is making in essays, I'll give examples of where in the text, in those particular sections, you can find help to overcome that. I also have links in our Blackboard shell to the writing centers. They offer great resources, whether you're using our CWI's website, our writing center, or the online Purdue website. It's called OWL, Online Writing Lab. Both of those and this are going to give you great help in polishing your work, I guess is the word that I want to say. It's really the opportunity to go through and again make sure your writing is clear, it's concise, it meets that formal standard, and not just everyday writing how I talk. So, overview of your textbook. Super excited. It's a really great text. In fact, I even tell students at the end of 101, if you're going to sell this book back, make a copy of page 11 or take a picture of it on your cell phone so that when you're in and working on writing for your other classes, you can kind of figure out, oh, which writing role am I taking on here and what do I want to do? It's a great reference.